Hey folks, Mark Locklear here, and this is a quick screencast on our spring 2026 sections to prepare you for the spring 2026 sections of DBA 120, which is MySQL programming. We'll just look at so let me open this up a little bit. So first off, there are two sections of DBA 120. There's a seated and an online section. Um, Anybody in the online section is welcome to come and sit in on the seated section. Seated section meets Mondays at 10 o'clock, Monday from 10 a.m. to 12 lunchtime. Usually an hour, hour and a half is probably all we do. Generally, I'll do like an hour of lecture on whatever chapter we're covering that week. And then we may or may not do some kind of lab time. I'm just going to look at either. So notice there are these two sections here in Moodle that they're both going to be set up the exact same. So I'm just going to I'll open the online section. Okay. Um, Quick layout. So basically we cover a chapter per week. Chapter 1, and then we're going on through chapter 14, I think, is as far as we get, even though there are 16 weeks if you factor in the final project, which is the final week 15, and then sort of the final exam week. That's your 16 weeks. And sort of the way we do DBA 120, DBA 120 is taught this spring, and then DBA 210, which is, I think, MySQL or database administration. That's the natural follow-up, or that's the sort of second level class. And so a lot of what we do for DBA 120 plays in or goes hand in hand with the work we continue in DBA 210 over the summertime. So anyway, chapter a week, basically exercises. There's coding exercises due each week, Friday at lunchtime. And in addition to that, there's a quiz each week. Again, we use the Mirac MySQL book. I think it's version, let me look at the bookshelf here. It is going to be the fourth edition is what I want to say. So let's go back. And then, yeah, MySQL. So the fourth edition, the bookstore has this, bookstore has this book. Way to get to the front page. Here we are. Yeah, Mirac, MySQL, fourth edition. Bookstore has this. If you buy this someplace other than the bookstore, make sure you get the fourth edition, just because the exercises are a little different. The content is mostly the same, but the chapters are in a different order, and then the exercises are going to be different. And that's just going to sort of tend to trip you up. If you're more advanced student, you've used MySQL before and you're comfortable with it, you could probably get by with one of the previous versions of the book. But my recommendation would be to just buy the fourth edition, which is what we're using. Generally, each week I'm doing a screencast per week. The screencast is basically what I'll cover in the live version of the class on Mondays. So, if you sort of want that live interaction with other students, I would encourage you to come out. Otherwise, you can do everything asynchronously through Moodle. Again, just looking at watching the screencast each week, in addition to doing the coding exercises. The first couple of weeks, well, it looks like maybe just the first week, I have a chapter 1 lecture in addition to the screencast. So anyway, just to be aware of that. Let me tell you about the sort of setup for how we're doing things. So I've got an Ubuntu Linux server set up that has MySQL installed. And then I have MySQL, or I have Linux users in addition to MySQL users. The first week, the coding exercise for the first week is basically just you getting logged into the Linux server, and then also making sure you can log into MySQL. I have a domain set up that is dba120.locklear.me. You can see that here. And so we'll be SSHing into this server. SSH is just a remote protocol that's used to log into remote servers. You will SSH in with your username and then the @ and then dba120.locklear.me. Your username is going to be the same username you use for Moodle. Generally, that's going to be first name, middle initial, last name. And then your password will be the first two letters of your last name. First letter will be capitalized, second letter will be lowercase, and then followed by your student ID. That's going to be your default password that I've set up for you. And then so your assignment this first week is just to get logged into the server. Again, use that default password, and then you'll want to change that password or use the passwd command in Linux to change that password. I have a command line tutorial, a link to that under the learning resources here in chapter 1. Check that out. Again, if you've never used command line before, this very well is going to be very new for you. So, I've had students, let me stop sharing for a second to just sort of say this. I have students that complain a lot about, I just took this class to learn MySQL, not learn all of these other things. But, you're not just learning SQL here. When we say MySQL, it's really this sort of, I'm making a globe with my hands here, but, you really need to set up an instance, know how to set up an instance of MySQL. In this case, since we're running it on a Linux server, there's a bunch of sort of Linux command line things you'll need to learn. All that being said, you could conceivably do all this locally on your own computer, and if you're comfortable, if you've got some background in MySQL and you want to set up your own MySQL server locally and do all the exercises there, that's completely fine. And from an instructor, from my standpoint as an instructor, I don't mind you doing that. The reason I don't do that is because everybody's system is different. Some of you all will be running Mac, some of you will be running Windows, and the MySQL installs and setups are a little different for each one of those. So I've sort of made the, based on my own discretion, I've sort of made a command decision that, I'm going to set up the MySQL server for you, and then, what you'll need to navigate is just logging into, again, in this case, an Ubuntu server, being able to log into the server, and then also run the MySQL commands from the server command line. So that just sort of is what it is. I just wanted to take a moment and explain that. So outside of that, as I said, you'll be running those commands inside Linux. And so just know that that's a part of that'll be a part of everything that we're doing. And so I guess along those same lines, I will say, just looking forward to DBA 210 this summer, just know that part of what you'll be doing this summer is spinning up your own Ubuntu Linux server, and then also doing your own install of MySQL, and you'll be sort of maintaining your own server there. So a lot of what we're doing now is laying the groundwork for the work that you'll be doing this summer. Okay, so there's that. The entire course is already laid out for the entire semester. Again, it's I do minor tweaks from year to year, but generally all the work's there, so feel free to work forward if you need to. As I said, the coding exercises are due each Friday. The quizzes are there. The quizzes are open, and you can do those whenever you want. As long as you get them done before the end of the semester, it's fine. That being said, I would strongly encourage you to go ahead and do the quizzes the same week that we cover the content, just because it's going to be fresh in your mind. So, that kind of is what it is. I think that's about it. Just a little real quick about me. I'm a web developer. Well, so I've been in tech for about 30 years now. I started out sort of doing desktop support, did quality assurance QA work. I was a QA engineer for about 10 years, and then moved into the development side of things about 10 years ago. And then the last few years have been sort of on the IT project management side. So I've done just about anything you can think of in tech, whether it's everything from desktop support, software development, and then everything in between. I've kind of done all those things. MySQL background or database in general background. I'm this is a MySQL class, but really it's a relational database class, probably more than that. Which, when I talk about relational databases, that's a larger umbrella of technology, which includes, SQL, Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL, Postgres, sort of all of those are relational databases, and that's sort of then been that I was going to say it's the language of the web, not so much the language of the web, but like all when we talk about database driven applications. So most modern web applications and or even mobile apps have some relational database component to them. So that's part of what I hope you'll learn here. Um, and again, I've done on the web development side of things is mostly where my focus on database technology has been. So I hope that's what I'll bring to the class, or at least especially for the. I mean, you'll see it in the screencast that I do, but certainly if you come to the CD class that we have, a lot of what you'll get, I hope, is sort of real world, my real world experience implementing code bases and also relational databases in the context of sort of web technology, websites, and then all the work I've been doing over the last 20 years or so. So that's all for now. Looking forward to this semester, and I hope to see you either in class or online.